everyone, and welcome to our webinar for today. Today we have a very interesting topic, an introduction to SAP Cloud ALM. Before we get started, I'll do a quick introduction on CoreALM, who we are, but this is going to be an exciting topic. Many people have been considering what their next move is going to be. SAP Solution Manager, for people that have used that tool in the past, understand that it is coming towards the end of life, and so want to evaluate their options. SAP's newest ALM tool is SAP Cloud ALM, and it provides a lot of similar features, but it's modernized and it's cloud-based, of course. So we're going to be walking through how you can use that both for your implementation, SAP implementation projects, as well as operations. And we're excited to get into those details. Maybe just a quick overview to get started on who we are, and I will share my screen. You should be able to see. CoreALM was started about 15 years ago when our CEO and founder, Levinat Bertucci, actually left his position. At the time, he was the head of the Application Lifecycle Management practice at SAP. Many of our team actually previously worked at SAP before starting here. Really, he in that space, he saw that there was nobody that was really out there that was focused 100% on the ALM practice itself for SAP customers only, and decided to found CoreALM to do exactly that, based on his customer connections and relationships with customers at the time from SAP. We were able to get started with a lot of large enterprises right out of the gate. But it was about 2018 when he realized that there's an opportunity, because many customers that were using SAP also had many other applications in their landscape that they needed to manage. And for those other applications, they used other tools like Jira, Azure DevOps, and ServiceNow. And so that led to some opportunities, because if you're using application lifecycle management tools like, let's say, ServiceNow, Jira, Azure DevOps, and you're running SAP, then sometimes you're having a duplication of entry issue. And so I saw an opportunity to actually build some integrations and some software that would allow you to be able to connect those tools up, to be able to use them in parallel. And that's where we really started getting into the software development side. And that has really taken us forward. So we provide both software as well as services in the application lifecycle management space, which I'll get into a little bit. We've served some of SAP's largest customers. We've covered, small businesses, but also very large practices. Manufacturing, it could be military applications, very high security requirements, as well as financial institutions, very large banks and financial institutions, as well as regulated industries such as life sciences, pharma, which require validated solutions. And so we can operate in all of those different types of stringent environments. Many of our customers on this list have been running our software for many years with no issues, and we've been able to support them ongoing. We cover both from a services and a software perspective. We cover all aspects of the lifecycle management for SAP. We consider it very important to have a holistic change management process, whether you're doing a big project or if you're in maintenance mode and just doing ongoing changes. It's important to cover with tools that are integrated all aspects of the design process. So it could be from planning, where you're doing your requirements management, or PI planning and scoping of your projects, through the build and execution, making sure that you have everything that you need being tracked, sprint planning and those types of agile methods, as well as waterfall approach. Testing, we actually do test optimization with tools like Tricentis Live Compare, where we can provide a holistic view as to how you can optimize your testing, as well as test orchestration to keep track in real time of your actual test effort. And we provide test automation services as well to provide continuous automation of your execution of all of your test cases across your landscapes. Release management would be covering all of the aspects of transport, release management, and linking all of those things and requirements traceability from your requirements to your transport, and all of the testing that was done for your release strategy. And then monitoring, making sure that the applications remain healthy and that you're dealing with all of your technical issues, and even doing process monitoring to have KPIs to measure the effectiveness of your SAP platform. So we cover all of those services across the board. What we've noticed for customers that are running on an SAP ALM toolset, that could be Cloud ALM, if you're already using Cloud ALM, or Solution Manager. For those, many people, like I said, still have other applications in their landscape. And because of that, there's sometimes a dual interface where they have to use one application to do one thing and then input the same information or similar information into multiple different tools. So we provide some connectors that allow you to make that a much more easy and transparent job. We do have connectors for Cloud ALM. We're not going to get into that in a big way today, but we definitely have those connectors. We also have connectors to Solution Manager, which includes Focus Build, Charm, and Focused Insights, Focus Run. So those are some tools that are very helpful. We also have, for people that want to manage transport directly from their existing tools, we can have transport management running from Jira, from Azure DevOps, and from ServiceNow. So basically, we cover Solution Manager integrations, we cover Cloud ALM integrations, and we have integrations from a direct transport management perspective as well. So that's a little background on us. I'd like to introduce our guest for today, Harold Sika. Harold is an application lifecycle management architect here at CoreALM. He's worked on large implementation projects. He's been using SAP Cloud ALM on many of those projects to run those projects and keep track of those, keep the project healthy and moving forward. And he's going to walk us through today a demonstration of how SAP Cloud ALM works. And I think before that, he has some slides that he can sort of give you an overview. So Harold, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. And I'll let you take it away. I think I just need to switch over to make you a presenter. I'll do that right now.
Okay. Hi, Steve. Yep. Thank you for doing that. And excited to be here. And actually, can I just confirm whether you can hear me okay first?
Can hear you fine. I can see your screen,
okay.
But it looks like you're sharing the SAP Cloud ALM screen. I think did you want to go through slides first?
This one. Okay, yeah, that is the correct screen. I am going to get the presentation up and going right now as we speak of. All right.
Perfect.
And yeah, so as Steve already mentioned, today we'll provide an introduction to SAP Cloud ALM for implementation and operations, and just from an agenda perspective. So we'll start off with an initial introduction to. Let me just adjust my screen here a little bit. So we'll start off with an initial introduction overview to Cloud ALM, and then we'll talk about how the tool in itself, Cloud ALM, is used. You can use it for your implementation projects. We'll jump into operations, and we'll briefly discuss the business process monitoring aspect of Cloud ALM. And of course, we'll also jump in the system with a live demo, and then we'll wrap up with the Q&A session. So Cloud ALM, it is the cloud-based application that supports both your cloud and on-premise customers. It requires minimum effort to get the system up and running, and is offered at no cost to SAP customers, meaning that if you already have a subscription to SAP, it's free for you. It is the new, shiny, and emerging ALM tool from SAP that allows for a replacement of SAP Solution Manager for both your implementation and your operational purposes. So if you're undergoing an implementation project or a maintenance project, you can use the tool for your design, build, testing, and deployment phases. From an operational perspective, you can use the Cloud ALM to monitor those standard and custom KPIs that help you to detect problems, analyze the root causes of those problems that you're facing, correct those problems, and automate the performances. And we'll jump into the implementation. So I know it's a very busy slide, but we'll break it down in chunks from an SAP Activate perspective. So it supports your Activate methodology by helping you jumpstart your projects from your requirements all the way to the deployment phase. You are also able to leverage Cloud ALM by using the accelerators and the best practices that allows you to actually, as soon as you start your project, so as you onboard your project team, and then of course as you are designing the 2D solution, and then as you are proceeding towards building the future state, and then of course you can test the work that's implemented during your realize phase, and you can deploy those changes into the next quality gate. Cloud ALM also allows for third-party integration tools, and I know that Steve mentioned on a couple of those. There are open APIs that you can integrate through. So if you, for example, if you are also using Jira, you have some teams that might be using Jira for the project manager project activities. You can both integrations, they integrate with each other, which we've seen in a project that passed that we've implemented, and also testing tools such as Traceability where you can leverage the integration between both Cloud ALM and the third-party tool. It is also your one-stop shop for project-related activities and implementation, as it ties together your design, build, test, and deployment phases through analytics and traceability. And as it offers capabilities that are standard out of the box that help you deliver your project. So as you are designing your 2D solution, it helps to bring the solution scenarios that will make up the 2D solution process hierarchy. So it helps you build out the hierarchy of what your process is going to look like, and also the process authoring tool that includes the diagram flows. On top, you can actually use the requirement management to capture the requirements during your fit to standard workshops. And as you transition towards build, you can take the initial backlog that you have created once you've captured those requirements and also those configuration activities, and break them down into more granular user stories if you're following an Agile implementation. And that way you can manage them directly in Cloud ALM. If you're implementing Scrum, the tool can help you run your sprint ceremonies, beginning from your PI planning, your sprint planning, and your daily Scrum, and all of the other ceremonies as well. From the testing, to ensure quality, you can manage all kinds of tests in Cloud ALM. This could be both manual. It supports both manual and automated test cases that can be created and managed, along with test plans and defects. And last but not least, it also helps you manage your transports and your changes with quality gates and approvals. Cloud ALM offers project management capabilities that align with your discover and prepare phase, where project teams can collaborate, they can plan, they can track their progress, they can track the progress and all of their implementation activities in a centralized environment. You can create projects. You can it allows for you to define your timelines and for the phases of the implementation, and also you can and also assign team members to specific project roles. You can also monitor, act, and react to all of those project activities in Cloud ALM in the project overview that you're looking at here. And depending upon your role, you might have certain KPIs that you might be looking for. Whether you're a project lead or an architect, you'll see a real-time picture of the overall project status for reporting, but also to determine if there's any additional actions that needed to be taken. During your design phase, it helps you by jump-starting those fit to standard workshops, and by utilizing the best practices content, and by using those accelerators as well, and by scoping the solution scenarios that come standard from Cloud ALM. And those custom also helps you capture those custom or standard requirements during the workshops that are assigned to the processes that will make up your entire project scope. And then from traceability, we can further break down those requirements at a more granular level. So whether you're tracking that work by user stories or tasks, and then of course, as you are assigning transports and features to those objects as you are managing those document changes. So as you continue towards your design phase, your design phase and designing your solution, you don't need an external tool to capture those process diagram flows. This Cloud ALM process authoring tool provides standard out-of-the-box content diagrams that can be tailored. They can also be tailored to match your to-be process. And if needed, those flows can be imported and exported, so vice versa, as either as BPMN, SVG, or even as PDF files. And what we've seen in the past, the use of our PDF files has been that the team is working on the BPDs, they'll just do a screenshot of those PDF or export them to PDF, and then they'll just upload them as part of those BPDs. So as you are transitioning from your design and starting your build, Cloud ALM can also provide SAP activated roadmaps for your tasks as well that will help you run your Agile implementation or your end-to-end project. You can manage those activities directly in Cloud ALM via requirements, tasks, and features that contain transports. And so once you move the transports to the next gate, you know exactly what changes you are bringing with you, and also what's included in those changes. Another benefit during build is that Cloud ALM allows you to break down those requirements into user stories or tasks, and then assign them to individual owners and track them via a Scrum board view or also Gantt chart view. So what it allows you, just to kind of wrap the last phrase up, what we've done is we've captured the requirements, which are the what business required, and then we've broken them down into the user tasks or user stories or tasks, which is the how. So that is how we'll distribute work or how we'll manage our work. And then, of course, we assign it to individual team members. And so work is being shuffled correctly. And then, of course, you have all these personalized views. Then I'll show you in the demo as well. So once you have completed build and you want to ensure quality, make sure that everything that we've built looks correct, then that's when testing and test management comes into the picture. So Cloud ALM also offers test management capabilities for orchestrating both manual and automated testing. And the best processes content does provide their standard test cases that help you accelerate the test preparation process. There's in the test preparation app, you can manage and prepare those test cases. In the test plan, there's a test plan app where you actually can create a test plan, and where you take those already created test plan cases and you can actually assign them, and you can track the preparation and the execution process. And as you are moving from your planning to the actual execution, so you can actually execute those test cases in the test execution app. And you can track the progress of your test cases, and that is also where you can create and manage defects or deficiencies and that were discovered during testing. And then, of course, we can integrate test automation tools such as Traceability, for example, that provide standard test cases to be synchronized with and executing Cloud ALM. And from a traceability perspective, we bring everything from testing together through full traceability from your requirements all the way to the deploy in a holistic approach by integrating your business processes, your requirements, user stories, features, and all of your test orchestration. And also, so to ensure quality, you might start with testing at the lowest level, and you can work your way up to testing that requires more complex and larger effort. So, for example, you may start with your user stories and tasks, and with some type of functional testing that might be that your team would perform. Then, as you progress through build, then your requirements would be, you want to test those requirements for make sure the functionality is correct, and that you with some sort of acceptance test that you need where you need to engage the support of your business. And then, of course, you'll bring it all together with at the highest level with integration tests, is where you are testing out those processes that you built with your business processes as part of your integration or scenario testing. And then from an implementation perspective, from a reporting and analytics, it does provide, it brings everything together with standard out-of-the-box reporting that provides an overall project view and allows you to you can also drill down and see at the lower level and retrieve detailed analysis using custom filters and tags as well. So for example, if you're a project manager, you'd be interested in the overall project view, so something like this that you can see here, versus the Scrum Master who might be more interested at an iteration or at a sprint level, or a testing manager who might be more interested in the testing and defects management. And then from an operations perspective, Cloud ALM does offer capabilities of monitoring and for your system, and also detecting those problems through your business process monitoring, the user and performance monitoring, and then technical monitoring and others, so the ones that you can see here. It also helps detect problems with your problem routing through intelligent processing, and support your problem resolution, where an incident can be raised, it can be analyzed, it can also solved and closed. And from a business process monitoring perspective, it aims to provide transparency by an end-to-end business process, and also based on predefined indicators. It monitors the health and detects the anomalies during your process execution, and also enables both your business and IT. It also provides transparency on the technical issues and on the jobs to highlight which ones are failing or you need to further examine. And also, for example, of use of business process monitoring. If we have a certain KPI that for inventory levels in a warehouse, if they reach a level below 10, then of course that's when you get a notification that the threshold has been exceeded, and need to take a further look and discuss and analyze. And any questions so far before I jump into the demo?
Looks pretty good, yeah. So thanks for the overview, Harold. I'm excited to kind of see how this comes into action. If anybody does have questions, please put them in the chat. You should just be able to type them directly into the chat, and we'll pick those up at the end. The biggest thing I'd like to see, Harold, is a lot of people use different tools for each part of this process, right? We've seen lots of our customers use, different tools for different parts. There's some things that really, you need an SAP tool to do it, like, test automation and those types of things. Integration with transports, like that all ties back to SAP. But the biggest thing is having everything connected. So I'm excited to see how that all works. I'll let you take it away for the demonstration.
Correct, exactly. From your requirement to deploy, I mean, when you really think about it, sometimes even just create a diagram for those, there's third-party tools that that we've seen used. But yeah, this will bring it all together. And Steve, I just need to confirm you can see my screen, Cloud ALM.
You're good. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
All right. So your standard Fiori home screen on the implementations area. So your standard Fiori home screen, you can look at the tile. At the very top here is actually where we have the phases. So we have prepare and setup. So this would be your discover and prepare. Then we have a design, build, test, and deploy. So this area here, the assumption would be as part of our demo, just so we're limited for time. I've already set up my project. I've set up the teams. I've already created a scope. So all of that, all of this has already been created. So then the next thing that we would do is where I've created a scope, which is a container, right? That's going to contain all of the business processes and your requirements, which makes up the scope of work. So as you can see here, right, SAP, as I mentioned earlier through the slide presentation, right, we don't have to start everything from scratch. SAP does offer those best practices and accelerators, and the same thing applies here for your business, for the business processes. So if we are, as we are starting our design phase, we don't have to start from scratch. SAP will bring in those processes. You can actually see that there are some here that are SAP best practices, but there's also custom. So ideally is you want to bring in those best processes, then of course, then you want to start tailoring them. So this is where the custom one comes in. But the idea is if we need an additional, if we have a larger scope, and if we need additional processes to bring in, this is how we can do that. We can just edit the scope, another radio dial, and scoping, and you can see that I've brought the this process in. So as part of my scope here, if we want to remove it, it's not one of those that if we started work and we can't go back, we can just remove it from scope. So the idea is pretty simple, and then you can actually see here at the very top, I have my project and the scope, which will be that container that will assign everything to. And this is the standard view that comes out of Cloud ALM. The same view will apply for all majority of the other things that we'll also show you as part of this demo. So I can, so now that I've brought in the best practices, I have customized, tailored my process, and then so we'll just continue as you're going through the design phase and you are going through the workshops. You are capturing those requirements, making modifications to those diagrams. This is where all of that would happen under this view, and I'll walk you through it. So you can actually see here we have this is the process diagram. So for our purposes, we'll call it as a level 2. We're delivering everything at the level 2. We've seen on projects there's been some are delivered at level 2. Some are level 3 here that you may have, or you may have some reporting, or you may have level 4, which would be those activities here, as you can see. But I'm just going to go back in here since I mentioned that we're delivering everything at a level 2. On the attributes field here is where, so we've started with the accelerator. We have brought in all of those accelerators to this customized diagram that we have here. So you can actually see everything and all of that information. We can assign it to the business process hierarchy, but we also brought in those accelerators as well. So as I'm going through the workshops, I can get those accelerators, but also as we'll start testing later on, we can see those test scripts. And then of course we can assign everything if we have any document, this is where we can assign them. As we are going through our workshops, we can capture those requirements, and those requirements are tied to the process. And then of course user stories and tasks as well. So as you are following in Agile or Scrum methodology, of course, so the requirements are at a very high level. It might take several iterations to get the entire requirement completed, but ideally, so that's why you want, as we were working on iterations, you want to break down into either user stories or tasks, and that you'll be managing through the sprints. And then we'll discuss these a little bit later on the demo as well, once we get through build. But the idea is that we are capturing everything as we're tailoring the diagram. We're capturing everything here on the attributes. So we have the traceability, and then of course, as I mentioned earlier, there's you also have all of the diagrams as well, and the tool, the process authoring tool, does allow you to tailor those diagrams as you are designing your to-be processes. If there's requirements that need to be captured as part of those activities, as part of this level 4, so then this is where you can do that as well. So you can create additional requirements as you're going through your fit to standard workshops. Then, so as you are going through those fit to standard workshops, as you are wrapping up from design, moving into build, then so what we've seen on projects. So the list may be, you can actually see the requirements at here. So these would be all of the requirements that we have. And these are just a few that I've created here. But what we've seen on some of the prior projects, there might be on some of these larger implementations, you may have 100 to 150 requirements. And the idea is that, let's say, we're working on iterations, we may have for 4 or 5 sprints to deliver, but what we want to do is some type of PI planning, which is the program implement planning. And the idea is that you may take, you take the list of requirements, and then you want to designate them in buckets. So, for example, you want to say, for sprint 1, I'll take this 20 requirements. This will be the ones that I start. Then for sprint 2 will be this requirements, and then sprint 3 and 4. The Gantt chart view actually does offer a very good view for the way that you can actually plan those requirements at the requirement level for your PI planning. You can assign sprints, and you can assign sprints. You can assign owners, teams, and we can also assign dependencies. So this is how you know that in order for this requirement to start, we actually need to complete this one. There's a dependency here, or you can even tie dependencies that you can see here. There's certain configuration that we need to do to set up the system before we even jump into the requirements. So this is where the initial you can start the tools with your PI planning, and then as you start your sprint iterations, your sprint planning would be more at the task level here. So if you look at the task, we've taken those requirements, we put them in time slots, and then of course the requirements are very large, so we need to break down that work at the user story or task level. We've had implementation where we choose both for our demo purposes here. What I've done is I've assigned them at the task level. So at the project task level, you can see that there's, for example, for this requirement, J58, there's an FSD, TSD development work and FET that we need to deliver as part of this requirement. So we actually have broken them down into tasks, and this is how we can actually manage those. You can plan at this. So you can plan at this level. You can assign sprints, as you can see. For example, FSDs. If we have a sprint 0, we can start the FSD, but we wouldn't get to our FET until sprint 3. So this is how we can do that detailed, more granular planning. And of course, following Scrum or Agile methodology. And then you can do your sprint planning here. You can assign dates and timelines. You can assign teams, owners, and you can also use the Kanban view if you want for your daily Scrum call, where you can just move tasks around. Or you can just follow this view, and you can actually update statuses here directly. So as you are continuing with your development work, of course, then then the next thing that I want to show is the features. The feature or the features app, as if you call it. So the feature acts as a container for your transports. So as you are making changes to the system, developing systems, so this is where you can use the features. So you can see here at the very top our configuration changes. This is where we are tracking them. We can track those changes via status here. And actual transports, if we need additional transports, this is where we can create additional transports. And we can track those transports via statuses as well. And the features are tied to the requirement. So the idea is that for each requirement we're creating feature and transports as well.
And that's a big one, right, Errol? Because even if you're using other outside project management tools or Jira or whatever, you're still going to have to create a transport at some point. So having the traceability of requirements to the transports, so that you know exactly what's in that package before you release it. And I think you're going to show us about testing as well. Same sort of story, that you know that you've tested these things, and you have your features, and then you can release those features to production with that kind of knowledge in place. Is that?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly, Steve. And it's tying together, what we mentioned at the beginning. It's your one-stop shop tool for all of your implementation for your ALM lifecycle. Correct.
Awesome.
So
I'll let
as
you
we
continue. It's
are,
great.
okay, yeah. So as we are, right, so now that we have captured, whereas we've have features assigned, we're doing the work, we're moving all of the features to the next quality gate. We're checking them by the feature in itself with status, but also the transports that we have here. Then the next, right, we want to make sure, we want to ensure the quality for the work that we are making. So testing will be the next phase. So as you are transitioning over to testing, this is where you can actually, on the test plan app, this is where you can actually come in and you can create your test plan. For our purposes, I've already have created one here. So for our demo, we'll use this test plan that I have here, and you can actually see my test preparation is in progress is incomplete, meaning that the test cases have been created. And also, I've created a test plan now. You can also manage both automated and manual test cases, as you can see here. So I have my test cases that are here, and of course, we can assign to solution processes. So for traceability, I can also assign testers as well. So I will do that. I'll do that right now. So and of course, I want to save my changes. So I've created my test plan. Now I have a test cases. Then, of course, the next logical thing would be we want to execute. We want to test what we've built. So let me just add this to the scope. And then, so I'll just go, if you take a look at this test case here, so which is a manual test case, you can actually see that you can, at the very top here, you can see the percentage of testing that's completed. So this how many test steps we already have completed, but also you can see the status as well. So highlighted in red, meaning that there's something that we need to take a look at, and we got it. It was an undesirable results. And also on the defects column here on the table view, you can actually see there's one number, meaning that there was a defect that was raised at some point. So the next thing to do is we'll resume our testing. So we'll go inside and we'll take a look at this specific test case. And as you can see here, you can actually see the testing activities, and we have an instruction that you may include, and also the expected result. And here's where we actually manage our test status. So you can actually see here, once I click drill down, you can actually see all of the statuses that are available. For the first two steps, desirable. So all we have to do is just pass. But for this step here, it was something undesirable. And so something failed. And then, of course, you can actually, once something fails, then you actually do get an attributes prompt here where you can log your comments, or you can actually even add a screenshot for the evidence. And then from there, we can actually you have an option of creating a defect, or you can just go over to the defect status here. So you can actually see. So we added something, something failed, or something wasn't we didn't get the result that we wanted. Updated the status, and then of course added a comment, and then we created a defect that for that action. And this is what the defect will look like on the defect app. So we're still continuing with that traceability. We can assign owners. We can track those defects by status. So if you're having a defect triage call, this is you can use the tool directly, and you can use the tool directly. That will help you run a successful meeting by looking at all the defects, tracking by statuses. You can actually see assigned priority as well. So, if it comes to a point where you may have 10 or 15 or 20 defects, at one point, you know which ones to work on first. So you are using your efforts or spending your largest effort on those defects that are most important. And this will and I will show you a little bit later on the traceability. But the idea is that we're starting with the test cases. We create test cases. We assign them to a test plan. As we execute those test cases, then we have actual evidence that we're using the tool. We can also, and then you can create defects as well and manage those defects as well. And the idea is the same for both manual and automated testing. Just for the automated testing, you may have an outside tool where your testing would start maybe on the outside tool with those test cases, but then there's that information that's flowing back into Cloud ALM. So you do have that information, that's vice versa. I'm just going to pause here for a second, Steve, before I jump into the analytics and reporting. Any questions or anything that you want to add, or?
I think we're good. Maybe you can just quickly, we do have a few questions that have come through. I'm sure there's lots of people that have more questions. So maybe just you could quickly run through the reporting. You did show some of that in your deck. So maybe just a quick overview. Mm-hmm. Then you could touch on operations, and then we could take some questions.
Okay. All right. So from the analytics perspective, this is where we kind of bring everything together. This is standard out of the box, Cloud ALM. There's several reports here. There's several traceabilities from your requirements to your solution. This one actually is my favorite. And I know project managers and program directors actually really enjoy this report. This is where everything comes together. We have on the stable view here, so this is the process that we're delivering. We're tracking it to a status. These are the requirements, user stories. These are all the project tasks that we're delivering as part of these two requirements. Documents that are tied to that level 2. Everything that we've done from a test preparation perspective, test execution, and where we are. And actually, if I was to just click on them, you can actually see where we are. So you can see which ones are in what certain status. And then, of course, there's 2 failed test cases. There's two defects as well. And this is where we are also tracking all of our transports as well. So this kind of just brings together full traceability where we know at any point, or if we are to look back on a retrospective for the implementation, what was everything, what did we accomplish, what was that effort? We bring everything in here under this umbrella. And then just very quickly under the project overview. So this also gives you a holistic 360-degree view. This was not the one. Just taking a second. But yeah, so this gives you the 360-degree view of all of your project deliverables, and which should load up. But the idea here is that you'll, depending on your role, so you'd see if you're a test manager, you want to see where you are from a testing perspective. This, you can focus on the testing tiles, or if you're from an overall project delivery, you would see all of the overall project.
This is looks like the screen's not loading, but this is a dashboard where you have different things that you can plug in. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so different KPIs that you can bring in and report off of, right? Mm-hmm. There we go.
Yep, and you can filter them by, there's if you want to drill down, there's additional filters as well. If you want to, know what type of task, for example, or the priorities, so there's additional filters and drill down information as well. So. And then just very quickly from an operations perspective, so it does it does allow you to where you can manage your operations. So you'd actually have your here's where you have the overview. You would have the dashboards here that are assigned. You can actually even customize them, and you can actually add by having a favorites view. And this is where you can actually monitor and those KPIs and those dashboards. So, and we'll just stay very light in here, and we'll just open up the session for questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's a lot of new information for people. I'm sure they're a little bit overwhelmed with all of the capabilities. I think the key takeaway that I think we want people to see is that a lot of people use different tools for different parts of these solutions. The payoff is on that traceability slide. Maybe you could just, or that chart that you had, maybe you could just go back to that while we're talking about it. But like, the one where you had everything all in a sequence. Traceability is very important, because if you have like a particular issue going on, you have one place where you can go. You can see the status of all of your tasks, all of your preparations, and everything's linked together. This is very hard to accomplish in any tool that isn't fully integrated, and integrated with SAP, because the transports are part of that as well. So it's really great to have this one-stop shop. But of course, many people still want to have other tools that they work with. We did get some questions in the chat. Robert, for instance, asked about integrations with ServiceNow. We do have a ServiceNow integration, not the one that he's looking for. He was looking for the portfolio and project management integration. We have integration with ServiceNow more on the alerting side for the operational side of things. But we could certainly discuss with you what's the best way if you're interested in pursuing those. So sometimes we continue to extend our integration suite. And so if you do have particular requirements there, we'd be happy to discuss them with you. We have a little bit more integration on the Jira and Azure DevOps side, I think, and you've used those in some of your projects in the past, Harold. And that covers, I think, all of the task management, pretty much comprehensive integration on those applications. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, correct. Your requirements, project tasks, even defects as well. So if you have teams that are working, business teams that are working on Jira specifically, correct, that integration will work and give you that bi-directional back and forth information.
Okay, great. Next question came from Paul, was asking about test automation. Is it part of Cloud ALM, or is that through a third-party connector? Maybe you could talk to that quickly.
Yeah, so the answer is both. So you can have, it's both. So there is a standard that standard testing, automated testing that Cloud ALM provides. But there's also, you can have your third-party automation tools where you can actually, where your test cases would start off in the
Okay. Yeah, so there's a built-in, I think it's the Tricentis, like a light version of the Tricentis Tosca. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Steve. Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Harold, I think maybe there's an audio issue on your side, because I think you cut out a little bit on the end there. I'm not sure if that was me or you, but yeah, Cloud ALM does have a light test automation component as part of it, but as was mentioned, if you want the full version, you can integrate with that, and you can also integrate with on-premise applications, other test applications. So many different test automation tools are integrated with that. And in terms of Cloud ALM, one of the questions was, can it be used for other tasks? Maybe not, let's say, a full implementation. So Kurt asked, could it be used, for instance, to do system refreshes? Absolutely. Any task that you want to keep track of, you could also, because you're keeping track of your tasks, you could also link those tasks to any testing that needs to be done. You could create test cases for those. You could create defects that need to be resolved, and you could link them to your transports with your features. So it's a good idea to just run even small projects out of Cloud ALM, and it might be a good way to start even before you do like a full big implementation project. So that totally works. Hi,
Can you
Harold.
guys hear me okay?
Yes, we
I
can. Looks like
somehow I logged off. Yeah.
no problem. So next question was around big learning curve. This is from Fernando, and certainly it is a bit of a learning curve. Maybe you can talk about your experience there in terms of how to get people comfortable, familiar with the tool, especially if they're used to using Jira. Certainly, most people, as Fernando mentioned, they're not going to like drop those other tools. So what's the best way to help them, transition where they kind of do some things in Jira maybe and get used to Cloud ALM over time? Is there any advice you have on that?
Yeah, so actually the last implementation there, I was at the business was using Jira. So the connector is definitely the easiest way to begin that transition. So as you are creating requirements in Cloud ALM, they're flowing over as epics in Jira, and then of course as we are assigning tasks, then you have those as user stories in Jira. So there's that bidirectional. So they can see that information. As we're making changes in Cloud ALM, those changes are flowing over to Jira and then vice versa. So that will be the first step, so you can see. Then from there, you can actually see how Cloud ALM works. There's custom filters, there's tags that we can utilize, and etc. So that kind of that Cloud ALM actually makes it easier. And so beginning of the project, the teams were very keen on using Jira. And actually, by the end of the project, we actually had their requirements from the business we were creating in Cloud ALM, because there was just the functionality and the capabilities that it offered made it that much easier to just manage them directly in Cloud ALM. And even though they still float over to Jira, it was just easier for them to just create them in Cloud ALM, manage them, and report from Cloud ALM inside. So,
okay, great. So there is a kind of a hybrid approach that you can do, and using our connector that will allow you to keep things in sync bidirectionally, which is very important because you don't want people overriding each other's changes and those types of things. So you can gradually transition your team over. So that's a good thing. Next question is from Kurt. If somebody's currently using Solution Manager mainly for charm and monitoring, is it better to migrate to CoreALM or do a greenfield implementation of CoreALM? And I don't know if you want to take this, Harold. I don't know if there's any straight migration, but certainly we could help you to look at the features that you're using out of Solution Manager. One thing to note is not all of the functionality of Charm is fully built into Cloud ALM at this time. There are some limitations. And there is a migration path, and there are actually a few different options. Some people continue to use Charm, and some people, for certain things, they'll use Cloud ALM to manage those types of transports, but they're using Charm for other aspects. Could be like they're using Cloud ALM, let's say, more for projects, and Charm more for ongoing changes. Lots of different options there. And we have some additional tools I did mention that you can actually do transport management directly from ServiceNow or from Jira or from Azure DevOps. And so that's another path that we could discuss with you. So I would say it's a little bit case by case. I wish I could give a kind of cookie cutter answer, but everybody has a slightly different landscape, and we can certainly discuss those types of migration requirements. In fact, in 2 weeks from today, we're going to be doing a migration webinar. So do sign up for that if you have plans to migrate away from Solution Manager for various features, and we will be discussing some of the opportunities and challenges associated with doing that kind of a migration in that next webinar. Any other comments on that one, Harold?
No, I think you've covered this, Steve.
All right, great. Well, that brings us towards the end. If you had a question that was burning and you didn't get a chance to get that answered, what I would suggest is you can go to the CoreALM website. The easiest way is just type in corealm.com into your browser. In the top right corner, you will see the Talk to an Expert button. If you click on that, it'll take you to a form. just enter your contact information and we will get back to you and we can schedule meetings to discuss with you any of the questions that you might have, or we can provide demonstrations of any of our products or go into depth in any of these areas. Errol sort of opened a bit of a can of worms here. I'm sure we could get, he could do a much more detailed walkthrough in any of these different functional areas. So we'd be happy to get into those details with you. I think that's pretty much all that we have today. Thank you very much, Errol, for walking us through the functionality of Cloud ALM. It's a very sophisticated tool with a lot of integrations and traceability, which is very exciting to see. Thank you all for joining us today and for asking your questions. It was great to have you today. I'm sure you're busy. You will get a copy of the recording sent to you by email for this webinar in case there's part of it that you'd like to review. And you can scan the barcode that's on your screen right now. That'll give you a link to any upcoming webinars, as well as information about how to connect with us directly. Thank you all very much, and we will see you on the next webinar.